Hello friends and welcome back to MSFS Flight Plans. I'm Nick and my job is to make sure you always have an endless stream of interesting, amusing, and or awesome things to do in the sim, because it's really hard for me to fathom any predicament worse than feeling like you've got something better to do than hop back in here and fly around again. For today's trip, I figured we'd do something a little bit off our beaten path by taking a joyride through some of the coolest bush strips in Northern California. All of these are going to be payware, and all are from Parallel 42, with whom I have absolutely zero affiliation, and as of right now anyway, I've never spoken to anyone over there. And for all of these, I paid about $60, and it was for 6 bush packs altogether, probably with 10 to 12 strips, because some of them have multiple airports at them, or multiple strips. And most of these come with helipads, too, if for some reason you want to fly helicopters into your bush strips. So since we're way out here in the boonies with nothing but the add-ons to look at, what I'm going to do is tell you about each of these, what the strip is called, what I paid for each one, and some of the advertised features. And then once I land, assuming I can land, we'll hop out at each one and look around before we head to the next one. And all of these are within about 15 miles of the center of all of them, so it's almost a circular loop that I'll show you here in just a second. And I have flown into each of them just to figure out the quickest and safest way to do it, but I didn't get out of the plane at any of them except for this first one. So I'll be seeing all this stuff for the first time with you guys. I kind of did a flyby just to see that, you know, there is stuff on the ground and kind of where it is, but other than that, I have not gotten a close-up look at anything. And the plane I picked out for us, as you can see, is the Kitfox, also by Parallel 42, and one of my absolute favorite bush planes. And this one is the Bush Bashing 915 IS competition version with the 242 horsepower motor. So this baby can get up and moving, which is great because some of these strips are really short and in really tricky spots, so we're going to need some power. So a bit of a disclaimer, you know, I don't do a whole lot of reviews on this channel, and I'm not a big fan of paying for airports. If you've been around the channel for a while, you know that. I just can't see the point in paying that much money for something that you're going to look at once and probably not come back to unless it's like your hometown airport. But I do fly bush planes a lot, and I do like to come back to really good-looking spots. So that being said, even the most expensive of these, which was $11.99, is still as much as a cheap airport. So not super expensive, so I have to keep it kind of in comparison to what you'd pay for other airports. So a little bit of tour around this one. This one is called the Bush Plane Campout, and if you have the complete pack for the Kitfox, this comes with it. And right now that pack is $35. It's been on sale for a while. So it's $9.99 if you want to buy the standalone, which I would not do. I'd pony up the extra $15 or whatever it would be to buy the whole pack, $25. And this will come with it along with a bunch of other bush strips. I don't have any static planes turned on, so these were all added by Parallel 42, and I do own all of the bush planes, so I don't know if you don't own any of the bush planes. You might see like a Cessna 737 or something parked out here, I don't know, or if they actually put these things in here, but not all these are Parallel 42 planes, so I guess you'll find out. All right, one thing I'm going to look at real quick. This is going to be the end of our runway, but if you look down towards the other end, you can see that that is not lined up perfectly correct with, so the right side of this one kind of almost points inside of the right side of that one. So if you follow that right down the center, which is hard to do anyway in a tail dragger, you're going to come really close to those trees. So I need to remember to kind of pull off to the right here with that one. So the only thing else to see up here is like a little cabin that they have. So again, for $9.99 for me, I don't think it would be worth it to buy it by itself. Totally worth it if you get the complete pack from Parallel 42. And I should also add that I think Parallel 42 is a great company. They make great stuff, lots of cool and unique different types of add-ons across the whole spectrum. They got different applications you can use in the sim. They got an airplane, even some cars you can drive around. All of these are going to have little trail markers like this, and all of them have a QR code on the sign, which I have not tried scanning. And honestly, I don't even know if I know how to do it because I'm almost 50, so that kind of stuff scares me. But if you do, maybe it pulls something up. I don't know. And down here they have a cabin that we can walk into. And I also have the Campout utility again because I like going up to bush places, and I just entertain myself by building campsites sometimes. And I figured that all the stuff they'd be using for these would just be elements from that. But as you're going to see, they got some new stuff out here too, like these sleeping bags. I don't remember seeing any that look like that, but maybe I just haven't used those before if they are available in there. And this is going to sound really stupid, but this is my favorite part of this particular place. Check this out if I can get close enough to see it. Look at the details on those cans. You can actually read every word of the nutritional information on there, which I think is just great. I don't know why, but I really do. Okay, so one more spot I want to see, because I didn't go into it before, is this outhouse. It looks like the door's open. Anyone in there? We're coming in. And we're not going to use the door. All right, well, they got some toilet paper. Oh, and a sign. All right, notice, use the red cob first, then use the white cob to see if you need another red cob. Well, that's gross, but very, very practical. You don't want to waste all that weight hauling toilet paper out here, and there's nothing in there, thank goodness. Okay, so that's it for that one. Let's get on down to our plane. This is not the live weather, and every time I've been out here, the live weather, it's completely clear skies, not a cloud in the sky, just beautiful. But it has been very, very windy, and I've been flying out here for 3 nights just trying to complete the circuit without crashing, and it's a heck of a lot of fun if you leave the live weather on because it is so windy So right before I turned the weather off here, it was 15 knots on the ground, which means probably up over 20 in the air, which would make for some very fun landings, but I'm not going to wreck this plane again doing that, so I just turned the desert sky setting on. Okay, let's look at little NavMap real quick, just so you can kind of see what we've got out here. All right, so here's California. There's a northern border of it right there. If you saw our Shasta and Weed flight, there's Mount Shasta there, so that was part of that one. And then down here was our Oroville Dam flight. And we're tucked right in between them. So this is the Sacramento Valley. We're going to have the Sierra Nevadas over here, surrounded by mountains all the way around, so that's going to look fantastic. Although it kind of be off in the distance. All right, something very interesting about this. If you've ever bought an airport as an add-on, you know that once you look in the world map, once you've installed it in your community folder or got it from the marketplace, it'll show up in the world map. And if you want to bring it into little NavMap, you would usually click up here, click Scenery Library after it's installed in the sim, and then hit Load Scenery Library and walk through the prompts. It'll bring them all in there, but that didn't happen with these. It only brought one of them in there. So what I had to do, because I could see them in the world map in the sim, was go and line them up with that map, and then I put a bookmark where all the airports are, because that's the only way I could get where the airports are in here, which was really weird, because that's never happened before. So the ones that we're going to be checking out, the Bush Plane Campout right here, and Cone Grove Cabin, which is very close. We're just going to circle around here, and if you want to load this flight plan into a little nav map, it may be handy because all of the final legs before each airport are on the correct runway heading. So the correct way you would do this if you're flying around is probably cruise around it a couple times, look for obstacles, look at the wind direction, look at the runway orientation. But some of these are really hard to see, even when you get pretty close to them. So if you want to follow this, that'll at least get you pointed in the right direction for each of those. And the next one we'll see is called Sharktooth Ridge. And this one is really, really hard to see until you're right on it because it's down in between the two walls of this canyon here, and it's really short. A very fun landing challenge for that one. The next one, which is only like a mile away, is Hogsback Ranch. And this has two airport strips, one here and then one here. We're going to land on this one because I think it looks a lot cooler. And they got a couple of helipads out here too. Then we'll cruise over here to Mr. Goodbar. This is the Sacramento River, which runs all the way up to Mount Shasta, or at least Lake Shasta, runs past Mount Shasta. And Mr. Goodbar is called that because it's got two sandbar strips. This one's like 350 feet, really, really short out here, which is cool. You can get the Kitfox up and down on that one. Some of the other planes I couldn't get stopped fast enough. But we're going to land at this one up here, which is about 1,000 feet for this trip, and I'll tell you why once we get out there, because there's a very good reason for that. The next one will be Coyote Estate. And there really is, I just noticed on this map once I zoomed in, a house out here, which is what we're going to be exploring. And the strip's going to be about over here, also about 1,000 feet. But I couldn't see the house from the ground because of all these bushes right here. So we'll go check that one out next. And then we'll come over to high voltage, and you can probably imagine why they call it that. There are some really big high-tension power lines that connect over the top of these mountains, so they're way up in the air. And you'll notice for this one, I do not have the runway heading on it, because if I did that, I'd have to draw it back over itself to get on the departure heading to the next spot. So for that one, I just kind of drew it where I need to be mindful of where the power lines are, though we certainly will not miss those. And this one's also quite a challenge, and it's not because of the power lines. I'll tell you why once we get out there. And our final stop and our destination will be the Sunset Strip. And this has a huge footprint. I could tell from the air, they've got stuff built up all over the place out here. I think it's a big park, and there's a real lake down there, Finley Lake, that we're going to see. And then I drew the final leg over here going to the next nearest airport. Since I couldn't select anything over here as an airport, I had to connect it to something or it wouldn't let me save the flight plan. So I just drew it up there, but we're not going to fly up in that direction. So that's it. And let me shrink this down. I'm going to pull it back over here to the left because that's what we're going to be using for our navigation. We will not be using the glass in the cockpit for reasons why I'll also explain to you in just a minute. And look who's with us. Our man Chet. Welcome back, Chet. So great to have you, as always. So when I turned, well, I didn't turn the avionics on because as I approached some of these, I noticed that there was a lot of stuttering, which means there's probably some animated stuff down there or a lot of static planes or something. And since I'm going to be using a little NavMap, I didn't want to turn the glass on because sometimes that'll hurt your frame rates too. And since it's kind of unnecessary, we'll just be flying with our analog stuff over here. All right, so let's get her fired up. Master, fuel will be good. Lane A, lane B, fuel pump on, start power, start, parking brake off. All right, this thing has so much torque that once that tail wheel comes up, it likes to get a little bit squirrely, and you have to add some right rudder pedal usually. We do not have a lot of obstructions at the other end of this runway. Not the case with most of the others. You really have to thread the needle. It's a lot harder to get up than it is to get down at some of these. So that's what's going to stress me out, is taking off, not so much, or landing, not so much taking off. All right, there's those trees I need to avoid. And you don't need takeoff flaps for this thing, so we'll leave those retracted. All right, you ready, chat? You ready to see some bush strips? Let's do this. So the natural scenery out here looks great in the vicinity of everything that we're going to be flying around. But if you get off of the track too far from where we're at, you'll see there's a lot of stretching and some not so great looking creeks and stuff running up and down the sides of mountains. So I don't think it was an accident that Parallel 42 picked this region because it looks really good in the sim. And as you can see, we have no doors, which is awesome. Got a very good view of everything down there on the ground. I just got that, what is it called? The realistic tree height or something like that add-on, which wasn't very expensive. And I don't think that it did anything other than adjusting the tree heights to more realistic heights, but I just feel like all my trees look better in general since I got that. Like more detailed or something. But maybe it's just a mental placebo effect, so I don't feel bad about spending the money. But they look good out here, that's for sure. Alright, this first one is called Cone Grove Cabin, and you probably noticed on the little nav map that there was no runway indicated, so I don't know how long it is. The longest runway we're coming into is 1,000 feet, so it's probably less than that. And it feels like it's probably closer to 500 or 600 feet. And there's not much else out here. And again, I don't know how I got that one because you can't buy it as a standalone, so it must have come with maybe the place that we left from or one of the others. Alright, the VFR marker, this one's really hard to spot. I had to circle it several times to find it. So kind of the VFR clue will be a road or a path or a fence or something on the top of one of these ridges out here. And once we see that, we'll complete our turn, and if we roughly follow that towards the west, off in the distance, we will see the runway. Alright, I think it's on top of this one right here. Yep, there it is, that path right down there. Alright, so let's take a little bit harder turn here. Don't fall out, Chet. You got your seatbelt on? Okay, so there's the runway. It's off in the distance there. Look how tiny that is. Very, very hard to see. And you'll notice they've modified a lot of the rocks jetting off the sides of these canyons, which is really cool. So the area we left from is right over there. That's why that's all modded up. But this next spot, we're going to come down this canyon here and then cruise out this way. And that thing is completely surrounded by canyon walls, which looks just awesome. So that's the town of Red Bluff off there in the distance, down in the Sacramento Valley. And I just cut the throttle to get down to our first notch of flap speed here. So from the air, I spotted a cabin that'll be off to the left side of the runway, and on the right it looks like there's a static plane, and that appears to be about everything that's out here. And I think we're going to have an uphill grade on landing, which will be nice since it's a short runway. So we'll use the downhill grade to take back off again. And we'll throw in that final notch of flaps and let those barn doors shoot the nose up. There we go. Pick up the speed just a little bit. Once those final flaps come out, this baby will lose airspeed quick. And since this one's so short, this is not going to be a finesse landing, that's for sure. So hold on to your latex underwear, Chet. And your bowels. We're going to slam this baby down. Alright, so you can just make out that cabin over there to the left. That thing on the right, just above our propeller, I think is a log. And then you can just kind of see the plane that's off to the right at the other end of the runway. What a beautiful scenescape, though, isn't it? Really nice. So what do you guys think? Maybe 500 feet? It's not long. Maybe even less than that. But not a lot of obstacles on this one, which is nice. Just short. And down we go. Alright, so there's our plane, and they got a little tint over there, it looks like. So what we'll do is just come down here, turn back around, so we'll be pointing the right direction when we hop back in. And everything at the end of these runways, the rocks, the barrels, the power lines, the power poles, fences, everything is collidable. So try not to hit anything or you'll be starting over again. Alright, I'm just stepping on that left brake. We're going to do a little pivot here since we don't have much room to turn around, because we will hit something and we'll be starting over again ourselves. Oh, well, let's not do that. I want that tail wheel to be straightened out when we come around. There we go, that's probably about right. Okay, parking brake on, fuel off, and we'll hop out and look around and see what we got at this one. Oh, hey, we got two Chets in there. Hey, guys. Okay, so what kind of plane we got? Another Shock Ultra, looks like it. Also with the tail number deleted. What are these guys doing out here? toilet paper smuggling? Alright, I didn't see anything else around here, and since this was a freebie, kind of a pot sweetener, I don't think they put too much else out here. So we'll just check out this cabin, see what's going on. And that doesn't look like real high resolution stuff, so probably not even modeled on the inside. Nope. Alright, so that's it. Cone Grove Cabin. Why not stop there? It's free. And a cool little landing. God, that's a short runway. I'm going to say less than 500 feet. That's pretty short. Okay, back in we go. First things first, bring those flaps back up. Fuel, pump, start power. Parking brake off. Alright, so what we're going to do, assuming I don't hit anything on the way out, is come up here and just circle right back down into this valley and follow that out to Sharktooth Ridge. You ready, brother? Yep. Alright, let's do it. And I feel like this one might be angled to the side a little bit because that right wing is going to lift up. Jeez. Oh. Alright, just give it power. Just get up. There we go. Yeah, I think we had a little downhill grade there because every time I've taken off, it's shot me off to the left. One of these is going to have like a 45-degree bank coming in, which is the real challenge for that one. That's the high voltage. Not so much the power lines, it's the bank of the runway. And watch that airspeed in this thing, because if you go above 75%, once you flatten out, you'll be overspeeding. See, look how good those rocks look down there. I really like that. Very nice touch. And there's the camping area that we left from right there in front of us. Alright, so Sharktooth Ridge is up next. That one was $6.99, and I can tell you that even if they have nothing else on the ground, and it looks like they've at least got a camping area, I think that one's worth it, because it is really nice looking and a really fun landing challenge. So you can put that one near the top of your list somewhere. Alright, so I saved a lot of money buying these by using an add-on that I think I've mentioned to you guys before. Well, it's actually an application, it's just a website, and I'll link this one in the video description. If you don't already have this, you've got to put this in your Flight Sim bookmark folder. It's called FS Add-on Compare, like Flight Simulator, FS Foxtrot Sierra. And it's just a one-page deal. Once you go on there on the main page, there's a search bar up at the top, and if you're looking for an add-on, whether it's a plane or an airport or landscape, scenery, whatever it is, you type in there what you're looking for, and it doesn't even need to be spelled out exactly correct. It'll show you all of the places it's available, all the different vendors, and the price, the current price. So if anything's on sale, or even if it's not, you can compare them. So for just these 6 packs that I got, I probably saved $30-40 just by finding out that they're all cheapest in the marketplace, and you don't have to jump between websites to check it out. And it's free. What could be better than that? Unless you just like throwing money away. Look at this landscape. Just wonderful. You can see all the boulders and stuff on the ground for most of the areas. The only thing that's not superb is, see off the top right of our glare shield there? I think those shadows are perma-shadows. And I use that word for shadows that don't change when you move the sun around. But they look about right for where the sun is now, so you probably wouldn't have noticed if I hadn't said anything about it. Alright, Sharktooth Ridge is a 500-foot runway, and it is tucked between 2 canyon walls, and not parallel either. The canyon walls are at each end of the runway. And I've flown in from both sides, and I can tell you that you're going to want to come in from the way that we are, because if you come in the other direction, it has a pretty steep downhill grade, and there's no way you're going to be able to stop. I wasn't able to do it once in any of the planes, because you got to come over the edge first. So it's going to be right down in here. This is the canyon wall on the other side of it. So we got to come over this lip here, and then we'll come right down. I'll be at almost stall speed as we come over that lip. We'll pick up a little airspeed as we dive down, and then flare to burn out the rest of it, and then try to hit that runway right at the edge. And the runway itself is on another cliff. Alright, 1 notch of flaps. And so far we still can't even see the runway. There's that next notch of flaps. Alright, still can't see it. Not yet. So we are getting a little bit of stuttering, and I have the graphics, all my stuff set at ultra, but I did turn the terrain level of detail down a little bit and the object level of detail down, and we're still going to get a little bit of minor freezing and stuttering, so if that glass cockpit was on over there, it would have been a problem. Alright, we still can't see the runway. And there it is, just coming into view. It's that next little dirt spot down there. See that? It's slightly darker dirt directly in front of us. We're pointing a little bit to the right of it right now. And there's stuff at both ends of it that you can run into that will also end your flight, so you gotta watch out for that, especially when you're turning around. And this is the one that I think if we were in a less powerful plane, I don't know if we'd be able to clear this wall on this side of it once we get turned around. So be careful of that too if you're in a plane with a weak engine, because we're gonna have to shoot right up in the air. Alright, let me see if I can just get right above stall speed as I come over these things. And they got a little campsite down there, you can see that. But look at all these rocks and cliffs around it. Looks incredible. Alright, cut the throttle. Let's give it a little bit more so we don't wind up running out of airspeed. And we're down. Not pretty, but safe. Maybe not even safe. Alright, see those rocks there? Don't hit those. Don't hit the rocks at the other end of the runway. Don't hit the rocks at this end of the runway. Don't hit any rocks anywhere. Alright, so let's get turned around again. Stomp on that left pedal. A little bit more. I hit something taking off on the left side. It must have been those rocks down there because I didn't even see them coming. And then I just got the blue screen. That was it. So I need to avoid that. And let me just go forward a little bit again to straighten out that tail wheel. Alright, that's good. Alright, parking brake on. Fuel off. And flaps up while I'm thinking about it. Alright, let's see what we got out here. Alright, the tail wheel's straight. That's good. Alright, so I don't see any planes out here parked anywhere. But they got one down there. Which looks like... Let's see what the front of it looks like. Cub, maybe? X-Cub. Also with the tail number deleted. Yep, that's a Cub. Alright. Well, that looks like an X-Cub. And anybody in here? Nope. Boy, they're really roughing it. They don't even have a bottom on that thing. They just strapped a sheet over there. That's a lot of smoke from that campfire. Maybe they send up smoke signals. So if you have the Juice Goose, which is that off-road vehicle, also from Parallel 42, they said that they terraformed a lot of these trails out here so that you could drive around out here on that thing. I don't own it because I don't like driving sims or cars in the flight simulator, but if you've got it for some reason, they said they purpose-built some of these so you can cruise around on that thing. And there's another QR code. Alright, looks like a standard issue campfire with a little animated fire, crackling, of course. Anything interesting out here? Nope, standard issue. Boy, they better keep that meat covered up. There's some steaks on the counter at that first cabin, too. Get some blowflies on that. Oh, and a fisherman. Alright, well, what are you fly fishing? No, he's got a bobber on that. Well, good thing he has his waders on. That's got to be every bit of, what, 8 inches deep? What are you doing with waders on, man? Oh, he's from Michigan. Alright, well, we'll give you a pass. Nice hat. I got one just like that. Oh, and it's got the coyote on it. Very cool. I know our man Mike Coffey likes that hat. I mean, this just adds... we don't get often to walk around down by creeks and stuff like that, but since they've done this up, look at the moss on the rocks there. And again, I expect we'll probably see another forward evolution when we get to the 2024 version of the sim, but this looks pretty good for 2020. You don't see places like this very often. This is like Jeppesen level of detail for these cliffs. Those guys are the masters of cliffs, but this looks really good out here. Anyone else fishing out here or anything? Oh, we got a little waterfall. Is it animated? Nope, but at least there's an elevation change. Because you don't see that very often either. This looks cool. Yeah, I would pay $6.99 for this again, for sure. I think this one's really nice, just because of the landing challenge, if nothing else, and this whole area just looks so cool. I like this a lot. Very neat. But again, you know, you get these things, and it's fun to take that initial exploration, but how many times are you going to get out and do this? And once you've seen it once, you're just not going to do it again. But for $6.99, I think this one's worth it. Totally worth it. Got a little rock wall there. Alright, let's get back to Chet before he starts messing around with that GPS unit. He'll mess something up in there trying to turn that thing on. Alright, so you can just imagine here trying to get up and then immediately get over that wall over there. So you're going to have to pull up pretty hard and give it a good bit of throttle, and you don't have a lot of runway to pick up speed. And because these things are so wild anyway as tail draggers, and this one's overpowered, the combo makes it pretty tough. Alright, back in. Fuel on. Parking brake off. Alright, I mean, I don't have a lot of room to get over to the right either, which is why this one's such a problem, but I don't want to hit whatever that was on the left again. And this one might also be angled a little bit to the side. Oh, oh. All right, I'm just gonna... All right, we're up. I'm gonna just keep full throttle just to give us enough power to get up here. And then we'll pull it back. Okay, so Hogsback Ranch is next, and it is like right there. Well, where is it? Right there. That's how close it is. It's kind of overlooking the Sharktooth Ridge area. And this one is the highest tier of pricing, $11.99 for this one. But it's a pretty big complex, and they do have a hangar that they said the door will open for it. And I came down here once and it was open, I came down here once and it was closed, so it's probably one of those deals like the others where when you get close to it, it opens itself up. So we'll see if it's open or closed this time. And there is that second strip out here, which is really hard to see out in this big dirt area. And they got a couple helipads out here, and some things that look like helipads, but I mean, it's a big open space. Land their helicopter wherever you want. Ooh, a little bit of stretching right down there on those mountains. That's alright, there's not too much of that out here. And a radio, man, a big radio mast. Look at that thing. We might fly around the other side of that when we head out to the power lines. So maybe this is one of the helipads out here. Kind of looks like it. A little berm. It's not marked as one, but you could definitely land a helicopter there. And this little valley running between here and the place that we left from, Sharktooth, just looks cool. They got more of those modded up rocks all over it. And this might be my favorite looking scene from a distance, this one. I just think it looks really neat because it's on the tip of this plateau out here. Looks cool. Alright, so I think that's the dirt strip there, and then here's the one that we're going to be coming into. Both of these are about 1,000 feet. One's a little bit over, one's a little bit less. And the thing you need to watch out for on this one, they got power lines to the left and trees to the right, and right at the end of the runway too, so watch out for all that stuff. You'll see as we're coming in here. Alright, one notch of flaps. And you can see when you get closer to it, there is a little circle with an H on it right down there, so that's another one of the helipads. Look at that valley. All the rocks and stuff. How cool is that? Very cool. That's how cool it is. Alright, so we got 1,000 feet on this, and we don't have to worry about running out of space. But we are going to have to probably clear the first 200 feet of it. Just let that run underneath us because of that tree right at the end of it. What a beautiful vista, huh? Really nice. And you see that path running down this side of it? Kind of coming down the hill? I think that goes out to the place that we left from, so if you're going to juice goose it up, you could probably drive right down there to the other spot. Sharktooth. How's our wind looking? 3-knot crosswind coming from the left. Very manageable. Alright, you see those telephone poles to the left there? The bigger problem is that tree on the right at the end there. And look how close the trees are, about the halfway point. And that hangar is the first building on the left there, and it looks like from here the door is shut. And cut the throttle. Full air. And stall it out. Bam. Alright, flaps up. Hey, what's up, bro? Someone's catching some rays out there. Alright, again, be careful. There's stuff you can hit all over the place, and if you're in a tail dragger, you can't see what's off to the right side of the plane, so watch out turning around in here as well. Alright, we don't need all 1,000 feet, so I'll just turn around right here. Step on the left brake. Keep that back pressure on the stick. Plant that tail wheel. Okay. Ooh, we got a little dust trail coming up. That's awesome. There we go. That's about right. Okay. Parking brake on. Fuel off. You gonna get out this time? You gonna sit here like a baby. You're gonna sit here. That's fine. You can just sit here and swelter. Oh, it's probably a dry heat out here, which is nice. Look at the engine on that thing. Awesome. Okay. So let's look at the hangar first, since that's the closest thing to us here. Oh, the door's coming open now. Look at that. Very nice. That's wide, too. Not real deep, but you could definitely get any of the bush planes in there for sure. Or any of the single-engine GA stuff probably, too. And at 1,000 feet, you could probably get most of the GAs down here. Alright, well, kind of usual stuff you'd see in a hangar, probably. Oh, I hear some horses. But I don't see any horses. Maybe a little rendering error there, because I would imagine there's supposed to be some horses out here, because you can definitely hear them. Unless they're invisible horses. Alright, so we got a little solar panel array over here. Got a truck. What is that? A Ford? I'm guessing that's the Juice Goose, because I don't think Parallel 42 would put somebody else's off-road vehicle in here. But I don't have it, and I've never driven it, so it doesn't say Juice Goose on it anywhere. That's probably what that is. Alright, let's check out the ranch house. What is that, an electric Mustang? What is that thing? It's ugly, whatever it is. Is it a Lamborghini? Does Lamborghini have a crossover now? Is it electric? No, it's got exhaust. Oh, come on, Lamborghini. I mean, who buys a Lamborghini because it's practical? Come on. Well, that's the end of Lamborghinis, guys. The 80s were nice while they lasted. All right, so we got a house with a lot of windows. Ooh, let's try it again. A lot of windows in it. Well, I guess you can't go in this one, but you can certainly see inside of it. Well, it's probably better. We're kind of snooping around here. Oh, this is what a voyeurism sim would be like, guys. Hey, ladies, what are you doing in there? Yeah, cube that ham. That's a little bit creepy. All right, well, we'll just come over here. Maybe we go in the front door. Huh, no. You can't even get close to it. Now, that's a good security system. And that is an inoperable obelisk right there, so don't try to do anything with that. Let's see, they got an arcade in there. Pac-Man, of course. Their bedroom, very nice. Oh yeah, this is definitely a voyeur's haven. They got the bathroom right here with all these windows, no blinds anywhere. Yep, I know what they're doing around this place. Little water cistern. We have some two folks outside here. What are you guys doing? Thinking about letting the other folks look at you take a bath, probably. All right, a pool with pool noises and a coyote in the pool. Very cool. And an animated donut floating. Well, what more could you really ask for? Well, this would be a nice place to live, wouldn't it? Good grief, look at this view. Incredible. So for $12, again, you got to compare it to other airports that you'd be getting and also compare it to other bush trips you're getting. I think they've packed a lot into this. They got a hangar with a door that opens. And it looks really cool coming into it. If you like driving your Juice Goose around, I'm sure you can probably drive it from here down to Sharktooth again. And maybe sometimes they have horses. There aren't any now, though. And they're very loud. And now the hangar's shutting again. So again, I don't know if I would... I got these just to kind of show them off to you guys. Not so much because I want to fly into them all the time, although this one's cool enough that I probably would. Not so much the next place. So for $11.99, all things considered, versus what you might pay for these if you buy a whole lot of bush trips, I think this one's probably appropriately valued. And looks pretty cool. I wish you could go inside of it, though, but that was kind of weird that you couldn't get into that one. All right. Parking brake off. Step on the brakes. Fuel on. All right. Flaps up. Okay, so we just need to watch out for the power lines and the trees at the other end of the runway, so I'm going to try to get up sooner than later, because I think there's also a gate at the other end of the runway, which I'm sure you can also hit that thing too. Man, it really pulls off to the left there once you get up and going. And then it just kind of flattens out once you get some rudder authority. Okay, so if you're just trying to VFR fly this, point yourself towards, let's just say point yourself towards the radio mast to start. And then once you kind of come over, once you get high enough to crest this ridge, then you'll turn towards the west, and you will not miss the Sacramento River winding all around once we get out there. And that's when you can start looking for the sandbar. And once you get out there, you'll see that it kind of makes a giant loop. It almost reconnects to itself. And the sandbar is going to be on the eastern, southeastern part of that loop. Alright, so we'll come over this way now. This one is also $6.99. It does have the two strips. The first one, which is kind of on the tip, the southern tip of the sandbar, is very short, 350 feet, which might be the shortest of all of these. And the one just north of that is 1,000 feet long. And according to the description, I had trouble really seeing anything on the ground other than some campsites when I pulled in. It said there's a dock down there and a campsite, which I already saw. And they said there's an abandoned boat, which I think they're wanting you to use for VFR to figure out when to turn on base. But I didn't notice an abandoned boat before. And they also said there should be skinny dippers, so you know we're going to look for that. I didn't see any people at all, but maybe they're all skinny dipping. Alright, can we see Mount Shasta? It would probably be out that way behind Chet's Head, maybe once we turn the other direction, because it's going to be off our right wing. Probably pointing right towards it right now if we could see behind Chet's gourd. So you'll see out in the middle of the loop here, they have got what looks like a big residential area. All default stuff, but looks pretty cool anyway. So that would be to the west on the other side of the river from the sandbars. This one is also $6.99, but unless there's something that just absolutely blows my mind down here, I don't know that I would pay $6.99 for it again, because you can barely see the runway, and even on little NavMap you can tell there's not a lot of trees down here unless the sim just put a lot of trees down here, so you could probably just land down here if you really wanted to without having the pack. It's probably open enough to do it. And without any other stuff to really see, it's not really much of a landing challenge because there's a big open waterway coming in from the south. I don't think you could come in from the north on the shorter one because there's trees at the end of the runway. I think you'd run out of runway. But not a real problem coming in from the south. And the reason why we're landing at the longer one is if you land from the south and you get to the end, you'll be stuck up against those trees and you can't turn, or at least I couldn't turn around without hitting the trees. I had to use the pushback function, so we won't mess with that. We'll just land at the longer one, but you'll see the shorter one as we circle around here. So here's the Sacramento River here, and then it bends up around this way, wraps all the way around here, and then goes back up north again. And you can see they got some little stuff here that if that ever got flooded would probably connect the whole thing. You do some boat racing out here, you'd have a huge loop. You know what I also like about this? That even though it doesn't have doors, the wind is not just blowing your eardrums out. You know, with some of the slower GA planes that you can open the window on, as soon as you do that, the wind is just like overbearing. This sounds just about right to me. Give me a nice little bit of AC as we're cruising around here. Alright, so there's the two runways. Here's the longer one, and you can see not a lot of obstructions. And there's the short one, so that one's the real landing challenge if you want to try to take it. Shorelines look good. That must be the dock there, which you can't see from the ground if you don't get in the drone view, which we will. And this time I want to pay particular attention to look for that boat, wherever that is. And skinny dippers, of course. That looks like a strawberry farm or something. We got some of those around Jacksonville. They're not real big and they're all real close to the ground like that. So if they're wanting you to use that for your base turn, I'm guessing the boat is somewhere around here. But I'm not seeing anything. You guys? Don't know where the boat is. Alright, no big deal. It's just an abandoned boat. Alright, so when I'm flying up higher like this, I like to use this house on top of this hill as my signal to take the base turn. So we'll loop around that. I'm looking at this one down here. Imagine living up there. I'd probably rather live closer to the river, especially if people are swimming around naked in it. And we'll pull the throttle back to get down to at least our first notch of flap speed. Alright, there's the runway over there. One notch of flaps. Man, I'm still not seeing a boat anywhere. I mean, look at that little short runway. That is really short, and you can see those trees at the end of it too, so you gotta hit it right at the waterline and slam on those brakes. And the longer one's not really much of a challenge at all. Although you do have some trees right at the end of it, but with 1,000 feet, you could probably go halfway down the thing and still stop just fine. Alright, I will give them bonus points if we can find skinny dippers out here. So I may have to rescind my not enough value for $6.99 comment. And I've been thinking about that a lot, pricing to help. I mean, because I love developers that take the time to do this. I mean, it's fun, it's neat, but again, stuff that you're just not seeing or using that much. I've been thinking about what might be a better value add. We've been discussing that on our Discord server, which if you want to join, by the way, I'll put the link for that also in the video description. Whoa, nose up. Thinking about what would make it more attractive to buy a lot more add-ons, because I know some of those guys put a lot of time into these, and it would stink to only sell, you know, a couple hundred of them if you put hours and hours and hours of work into them, especially the guys that do a good job like Parallel 42. And man, on their website, they got all kinds of swag you can buy. I never really visited the website before I came out here, but they got t-shirts and stickers and all kinds of pretty cool stuff. I might have to get myself a hat or something, because these guys do good work. Alright, we got some smoke right in front of us there. That must be another campsite. Yep, you can see a little tent and a little dinghy of some kind down there on our left. Alright, we're a little bit high. Looks like we have a fisherman down there in the water. To the right, or the left. Alright, so this one also has stuff at the end of it. It gets pretty rocky. You can drive over the rocks, but then there's some bigger boulders at the end, and as you can see, it's hard to see. Alright, so we'll just drive kind of down by this campsite, and then we'll turn around again. And then go look for the skinny dippers. Hey, another Kitfox. Hello. Same color as ours, too. Although he has his cowl on. Not very cool. Alright, I just want to get down to where I can start seeing the rocks. I'm not going to cut it that close. I don't want to risk hitting something. So we got some floating trees. You get that everywhere in the sim. Unfortunately, but most of the time we're not driving around on the ground looking at tree trunks. Oop, overcorrected. I really like that dust trail coming up, by the way. I'll just go ahead and mention that. Alright, parking brake on. Fuel off. And let's go hunt for the skinny dippers. Chat, I know you're getting out for this one. Come on. Come on out. No, I'm not taking pictures. If I see them, I'm just going to tell you there was nobody down there. Alright, another campsite. That one's kind of fizzling out, so no one's been here in a while. Got the stew still sitting over there. What is that thing? A mallet. And a drone. I've seen some add-ons where there is animated drone guys flying around, but I guess he's out fishing or something. So even if that runway wasn't there, I mean, you can barely tell it's there now. So just delete all the planes and the camping stuff, and it probably looks quite a bit like this if you didn't have the add-on. Which is really kind of my only gripe about having to pay for something out here, I guess. Alright, man, what are you, kayaking? Hey, dude, you see anybody skinny dipping out here? Dude? Oh, he's definitely looking for skinny dippers. That guy hasn't blinked in like an hour and 45 minutes. Let me go get back and get you some eye drops, brother. Yeesh. Alright, that's a little creepy. I like the fact that they put trash here, because you'd probably see something like that in a river next to a dock like this. What a nice little thought. That's cool. Doesn't look phenomenal, but that's probably precisely the kind of stuff you'd see down here. And some rope. Okay, I know what you're doing. Okay, I'm just going to get away from you. That's weird. I don't see anybody in the water other than this guy. Oh, is this the Michigan guy again? I'd recognize that Kango anywhere. Dude, we're not even fishing, man. We're not going to fish out your spots. God, he just jumped right in his plane and came up here. I hope this is the last time we run into you, but good luck anyway. Alright, let's get a little higher to see if we can see anyone swimming around. Nope. We got our windsock down there. Boy, it was hard to see that thing. I didn't notice that at all. Another campsite. Well, these guys must be swimming around somewhere because all these campsites are vacant. Nobody in the tent. And those fires are all burning out too. Let's see what's up with this guy over here. So that didn't look like a kayak. It looked like one of those inflatable dinghies. Hey bro, you see anybody skinny dipping out here? Skinny dippers? What is that, a camera? It is a camera. Oh, you scumbag. Yeah, you know that's exactly what he's doing. You need to go talk to that other guy. That's weird. Look at that grin on his face. Or maybe he's into that guy that's fishing from Michigan. Pervert. Look how short that strip is. I mean, that is short. That was a fun landing. Really fun landing. I don't know if it was $6.99 fun, but that was pretty cool. But look at these trees down here. It's really hard to get turned around. And if you can thread the needle, you can squeeze across that little sandbar right there to get you over to the other one. But I got all snagged up trying to do that before. But you won't sink. You won't go underwater. You can drive across it. Alright, I would just speed up my drone, but then we'll have to slow it back down again. So we'll just take in the scenery. You know what? While we're coming up here, let's see if we can spot any skinny dippers over this way. Well, is that another... They usually don't have animated smoke at default buildings, but that looks like a default house over there. Well, that's kind of a nice touch, too. I've never seen animated smoke, or at least never noticed it anyway, on default stuff. Yeah, I think that's all we got out here. I don't see any skinny dippers. Alright. Well, parallel 42. I mean, they must be somewhere, because I wouldn't have mentioned it if they weren't out here, but my suggestion box would be leave a map or something. Show us how to get there. That's my suggestion box entry. Alright. Back in we go. Alright, that clunking noise is me setting my controller back down. Alright, flaps up. Fuel on. Parking brake off. You didn't miss anything, chat. You didn't miss anything, brother. Alright, so here we go. Up next will be Coyote Estate. And I don't know why the back of this thing is kicking out so hard to the right. Well, it wasn't so bad there, so maybe it is just a grading issue for some of these other runways. Because when it's really flat, it doesn't seem to do it as much. Alright, so we'll just circle around here. And we should be able to see Mount Shasta this time if there's not too much haze. I've spotted it a couple times. Because it's really, really tall. And it's probably directly north-ish of here. We're not headed north just yet, as you can see on our compass there. So Coyote Estate is also in the top pricing tier, $11.99. And just to reinforce going on FS Add-on Compare, who I'm also not affiliated with, by the way, I saved like $5 on that one. So it was a big discount. As a percentage, that's a lot. Don't just go and buy it at the first place you see. Check that site out. Alright, Shasta, where are you? Still not headed perfectly north yet. But I'm not really seeing it anywhere. Might be too much haze. There's the Sacramento River again. Yep, I think we just got too much haze, because I can't see it. That's not it right there. It's a lot taller than that, and it's covered in snow. Okay, so this place is supposed to have a lot of stuff on the ground, so that might make up for the pricing. There's no animated hangars or anything like that. And we're still not pointed quite the right direction yet. It's going to be right along the river. They said there's another uncoated sandbar strip that you can come into. Here's the strip right here. I'm not sure where that is. This might be it over here, but when I circled around it, it did not look like there's any kind of runway markings whatsoever, but that seems to be the only open enough area, and it is a sandbar, and it's right along the river. So they just mentioned that you could come down there if you wanted to. But the website said that this place is run by a local entrepreneur who is an upstanding citizen. And it said they have a lot of different stuff on the ground. They got some ATV areas, some pleasure craft out in these little man-made lakes by it, and a treehouse, a luxury treehouse and pool. So we'll check all that stuff out. Okay, for this one, the challenge is there are some big power lines right in front of the runway on this end, but they do have those big balls on them, just like this plane. So we will be able to avoid those, but they're pretty high up in the air, so just be mindful of those. You can see the pylons form right here, so they're going to kind of cross at an angle like that. So those must be the man-made lakes, and it looks like they got a little parking area or something over here. I'm sure they'll have some planes and camping stuff again. Alright, let's slow down. I'm going way too fast. Alright, I'm going to nose up to get down to flap speed, and we'll bring out full flaps and then just dive down. Down we go. Oh, they do a little... There's a boat down there. You can see that on the left. Boy, not much space for that thing. Is that a pontoon boat? You can drive it for 20 feet and turn it around and drive it back to the other end. That does look like a pontoon boat. Cool. Alright, so there's the house to the left, and you can see that big white area over there, which definitely looks like it would also be at a sideways bank if you're trying to land on it. Look at how much I'm diving here. I'm only like 50 knots. There's the power lines. And a big long driveway with some kind of gate at the end of it. Maybe this is the one that had all the rocks on the ground at the end. We're about to find out. So you'll see, once you get down, you could not see the house from the runway. So it's been obscured up until this point, but we're about to see what they got going on over there. So there's the camping area. Alright, we'll do the same thing once again. And now we just need to watch for the power lines as we take off this time. And this one's supposed to have some barrels. Yeah, this is the one that had all the big rocks. I think there's some barrels at the end of this runway too, which they said are collidable, so watch out. Alright, we'll turn around right here. There's the barrels. So we're getting more stuttering, so there must be some animations over there, and we're getting some popping too, which usually means animations. I didn't see a lot of static aircraft, so that's probably not the issue. Alright, man, we're getting good at these little pivots, aren't we? Alright, parking brake on. Fuel off. Alright, so we'll start to the left and see what they got over there at these ponds and whatever was in that parking area. Need to remember to put the flaps up. All right, let's start over here. See what kind of planes we got. Well, we know what planes look like. Oh, but they got another ATV or something over there. Well, that's like a Mount Everest tent there. That's the kind you would take for... That thing could survive an avalanche. Oh, I love how they put like the folded up wrinkles in it. That's great. Nice. Very nice. Yep, they got an ATV. This does not look like our Michigan guy, but he is fishing. What's up, bro? And he's got his parallel 42. I am definitely getting one of those. Yep. They were $30, but I think it's worth it. That's how you know you're an insider, because nobody else would know what that is unless they're a simmer. Well, that's kind of weird. What's that elevated dock for? It looks like you might haul like some kayaks or something up there. Oh no, look, it's the Michigan guy. Dude, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? It's all right. You be you, man. Whatever you want to do. Whatever makes you happy. All right, another ATV, another big camping area, and an outhouse. It's just amazing. You throw a few static items in here, and it just kills the performance. I mean, I probably could have turned stuff down to high instead of ultra, but why do that if we only have to deal with it while we're zooming around on the drone here? All right, I didn't go... Let's see what we got in here. Hello, anyone in here? You can see in the top of it, so there must be... Oh, please. Oh, it's one of those that just goes into a hole. All right, well, that's cool. Outhouse. Outhouse and outhouse. Let's see what's on this sign. Oh, I love this. I love when they put a lot of stuff on these signs. I don't know what the deal with this Coyote Ramen thing is. You can also buy a poster, a full-size poster at Parallel 42 site for $15. I may do that too, just because that's really cool, but I feel like I'm missing out on like an inside joke. That must be a big deal with him. All right, I don't know what that is, but it looks really cool. All these people must be hanging out up at the estate house up here, because again, nobody at the campsites. Take it easy, buddy. Good luck. He's probably so pissed this guy's over here fishing his spot. There's our windsock. As you can see, not a lot of wind, which is great. So that's not much of a landing challenge. As long as you can get around those power lines, you'll be just fine. And this one's supposed to have a helipad that's closer on... In the in-sim map, I could see it was pretty close to this house. I can't remember which side it was on, though. Wow, that is a pretty pimped out place, isn't it? Very nice. And what is that, a Bugatti? Is that a Bugatti? It is. Wow. These guys are high rolling. A Porsche. And... Range Rover, yep, they're balling. All right, please tell me we can go inside this one. Oh, we can, cool, all right. All right, so let's see what we got in here. All right, so some bags of, that's either those little powder things that they put inside ramen noodles or blow. I'm going to go with blow with a house like this. Oh yeah, and a briefcase full of $100 bills. Yep, that's probably blow. 4 burners in a house like this? You got to be kidding me. They do have the pedestal sink, but there's no way. That is definitely, you're losing some points for just 4 burners in a kitchen like this. What's this little wet bar? Well, they got some more burners. And the induction top. Okay, so they're probably good. That's enough burners. They should be all together, though. That's not a cuisine kitchen. Master chef kitchen. So when they're not driving ATVs, they're watching them on the TV. There's the piano that no one in the house knows how to play, as you'll often find in wealthy people's houses. Have to hire someone to come in here and play it, while someone does karaoke on that microphone. There's that Coyote Ramen thing again. Yeah, so he must be a ramen entrepreneur. Well, good for you, man. They got another arcade machine. More bags of ramen dust. And another briefcase full of money. Man, these guys are not fooling around. I love that. I'm going to get one of those. I want to put it here in my sim pit. All right, that's a kitchen again. All right, let's see what's going on here. The pool with an animated kid. All right, and his dog watching him. Is that the wife? Oh no, that's the au pair. That's a nanny. Oh, you know what's going on with that. You don't have this kind of money and just have an au pair that's just watching the kids. You know how that goes. Another Range Rover. A Jeep? Nah, man, you can't have a Jeep. Not a place like this. That's probably the nannies. Okay. Oh, so this isn't windowed in. This is an outdoor thing. That's nice. A little swing out there. Open air bedroom with more bags of ramen dust next to the bed. That closet is not nearly big enough. There's not even a stool to put your shoes on. You need a bigger closet for a place like this. What's that, a trap door? No, that's a drain for the shower. Okay. All right, very cool. Got their plant hanging from the ceiling. What do we have on this side? All right, so that goes back downstairs. Another bag of blow. Oh, no, that's money. They got money in that one. Well, they want you to think it's money. And, of course, they got the token Asian sign over there. Oh, you got to be kidding me. It's the autopilot from Airplane. It looks perfect. And it's animated. That's awesome. Well, that's what you get. The dad's hanging out with the au pair, and the mom's like, if you were more of a man, if you took care of me, I wouldn't need the autopilot from Airplane. That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to officially declare this is worth $11.99. That's awesome. Very cool. I would actually come in here and look at that just to see that again, over and over again. Oh, there's a helipad. Well, that looks great, and that would be a landing challenge too, because look at all these trees around it, and even that tree looks great. That might be the best looking tree I've ever seen in the sim. Look at that thing. It's probably a cell phone tower. You guys ever seen those? We got them all over the place here in Jacksonville. Doesn't look anything like a tree. Well, that one sure does. All right, look at this tree house. Wow. They even got a little water tower up there so they can get some water pressure. Very nice. And an out... Gross. You can use the outhouse. There's their white cob, and you just dump right down there in that trash can. That's disgusting. Get the au pair out here to clean that out. What's up, dude? And what is that? What kind of book is that? Microsoft Flight Simulator for Dummies. Great. Excellent. What do we have? Oh, this might be like an adult treehouse. Yeah, they got some bourbon and stuff out here. Another Coyote ramen sign. Another bag of something. And the bunk room with another suitcase full of hundreds. Man, these guys are not fooling around. But they're big fans of Parallel 42, so at least we can relate in that category. All right, what else we got over here? Little greenhouse, an atrium of some kind, which you can see into. Let's see if we can go into it. More bags of ramen dust. Oh, a printing press. That's what they're doing. They're counterfeiting out here. All right, that's a little bit sketch, so let's go ahead and roll out quietly. I don't want to get tied up with these guys. There's some funny business going on here. We'll just kind of slowly fade out over here. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Even at the higher end of the pricing spectrum, that was a lot of fun. Great job, Parallel 42. That was neat. The only thing that would add more to this for me is more of a landing challenge coming in. Even if those power lines were just a little closer, maybe the runway was a little bit shorter, that would add bonus points for the landing challenge, but that was really fun. That's neat. And I might come back here and try to land a helicopter down there. That was cool. And you get that little bonus strip over there. Boy, that bonus strip might be the real landing challenge, that sandbar, because that thing looked like it was at a super angle over there on the river. All right, in we go. 2 more spots. All right, fuel on. Pump on. Parking brake off and flaps up. Okay, so let's see if my hypothesis about a flatter strip holds true. Let's see if this thing swings all over the place as we're taking off, because this one looks pretty flat. We just need to watch those power lines. Yeah, so it must be a bank of the runway type of thing, because when it's flatter, not nearly the issues with keeping it straight. Alright, we cleared the power lines. Alright, so now we are heading over to high voltage. This one's $9.99, so it's the only one that costs $99, I guess kind of mid-priced compared to the others. And also for this one, unless there is just something I totally missed on the ground, I don't think this one's worth $9.99. The power lines are neat, but they're not close enough to be a landing challenge. But what does make this one really tough is an incredible sideways bank on the runway. Really, really tough for that. But other than that, the strip's long enough. Let's see, it's 872 feet. And there's also cowls all over the place, which is kind of unique. But I don't know if it's $9.99 unique. There's a foundation of something old down there, maybe just an old cattle pen. Alright, so as I've been thinking about and discussing with our guys on Discord, and if I didn't mention it before, again, I will put the link for that in the video description for this. We only got about 45 members, so definitely manageable to join the conversation. Always fun, always interesting, and really cool folks hanging out in there. As I was sitting at my regular working job today, I was thinking, what would be the best way for all these guys that build these super airport mods and strips and all that to sell more of these things? Because I think pricing is the biggest impediment for most people. I know it is for me. For something that you just don't see that often. Unless, again, it was the airport right next to your house or something. So bundles obviously would help. And I don't speak completely ignorantly about this. I've run a few businesses over the years. I've sat on some boards for some pretty big organizations over the last 30 years or so. But I would probably do it like they do when you buy, you know, subscriptions where you pay $20 monthly or some ridiculously low amount like $50 for a whole year. If you're going to do that kind of service, if you're doing subscription, which I think would be great, bundles, obviously, that's a gimme. Put the bundles together, I think people would buy a lot more of them. And I know some of these guys do bundles occasionally, and sales obviously help. But I think the better option, if someone can pull it off, and I know somebody can because they already have services that work like this, is subscription. That would work kind of like Apple Music or Spotify, where you subscribe, pay an annual fee, And again, it would be, like I was saying before, you know, $20 a month or $100 for the whole year, something like that. And as long as you're subscribed, you would have access to all of the add-ons available. You can take them out, put them back in, and if you drop your subscription, you lose access to everything. But in that system, you could reward the guys, you know, whoever's running the thing could reward the guys that are doing a really good job by, you know, if they have higher number of people pulling their stuff down or get better reviews, pay them a little bit more, slice of the pie. But I think that would motivate everybody. It would motivate the simmers, it would motivate the developers and modders. I think that would work really, really well. So if you feel like doing that and you need someone on your board, let me know. I work for peanuts. Just give me a free subscription. But I think that would be the killer app, and I imagine that's probably coming at some point for the sim, because that makes all the sense in the world to me to do something like that. Because who's paying $25, $30 for an airport? I've never done it unless there's other scenery around it, like a scenery pack, like when we were out in Corfu, places like that, where you got the whole island. But I just would not spend that much money for an airport. Santorini, that one we were just at, had the airport in the island, so that's worth it for me, because I like flying over and looking at the scenery, but, I mean, who's walking around the terminal more than once? You gotta be a real weirdo. Like that guy with his eyes taped open down at the sandbar. Okay, so we're gonna kind of point ourselves towards this once you see that open spot there. And this kind of looks neat too. You can actually see how the river, once we get up on it, is kind of carved into the landscape, which is pretty cool. And then we'll look for the power lines. Can we see Shasta yet? There it is. There's it over there. You see it? That should be Shasta. I knew we'd spot it somewhere. So these power lines are way, way up in the air. We'll have no problem getting down. In fact, we're going to turn inside of them. That's how much space we're going to have between them and the runway. So again, suggestion box idea. Make those power lines closer to the runway. But again, the bank of this runway is going to be the real challenge. And then after this one, we're only about 4 miles from our ultimate destination, which will be the Sunset Strip. Look how beautiful this is. Just incredible. Looks so good out here. River looks good. Creek. What do you think, chat? Looks good to you? You didn't grab one of those bags and throw it in the back, did you, while I was out there? Those guys will be out here waiting for us if you did. Not having anything to do with that. Looks like we've got a little bridge going over the river down there. Alright, so we need to skirt this a little closer. Now I'm looking over to little NavMap on the left, because to be completely honest with you guys, I've crashed every single time coming up to this airport, and I haven't made it out here all that often, so I still need to look at the little NavMap to see where we're going. Hopefully we won't do that again this time. The takeoff's going to be the problem. See, look at that. That's a very unique looking little river, the way it's cutting through that sandy area there. That is neat, and it looks like it's plowed, like it might be a field or something. Alright, we're about 3 miles out at this point. Oh no, some flat trees right next to that cool looking river. Oh man, what a bummer. Alright, so other than the cows, there's also supposed to be a helipad out here, which I did not notice last time, but they said it's grassy. And then like a little country store or something somewhere, which I also didn't see from the air, but I wasn't really looking for it that hard, so we'll see if we can hop out in the drone and spot that. But that looks beautiful down there. Really nice. If it wasn't for that flat tree spot, that looks fantastic. Alright, where are the power line? I think that's a pylon right there for the power line, so I think that's gonna... And here's the strip right here. So we're gonna circle around this way, kind of come down through this valley, and then come in here and wait till you see the bank on this thing. That is beautiful. Really nice looking scene right there. There's another big mountain off in the distance. I wonder what that one is. There's some big volcanic fields out there with lava flows and everything out there by those mountains. I noticed when I was looking around on little NavMap, so we may have to get out there and check that out. Alright, so I'm just going to turn just inside of those power lines, and I'm going to try to get really low to do that because I don't want to be turning around in the valley. So, oh, wait a minute. Those power lines are a little closer than I thought. Alright, you see them right here? I just noticed that they're closer than I was thinking. That's really close to the runway, so... I did come over the top of them last time, but I bet you could even come underneath them. Alright, let's get down to flap speed and figure this out. We'll figure it out. We've done it once already, and only once. Alright, 1 notch of flaps. Well, now I've kind of lost the power lines again. There they are. Alright, they're not easy to see, are they? Alright, we just need to get closer, I think. So we'll just keep on coming down. Yeah, so maybe just kind of getting yourself parallel with those and then just banking around to come in for that final. So we'll do that. Throw another notch of flaps out so we can really get slowed down. Man, this thing noses up so much. And you can see they got the balls on them down there. You can barely see them. They'll be visible when we get closer. This is a cool looking area. Really neat. So I don't know if those power lines would be out here just with a regular power line pack, or if those were added by Parallel 42. So I don't know if they selected this because there's power lines, or if they selected the runway and then threw some power lines out here. And I've kind of lost the strip. Okay, it's over there. Yeah, this thing gets so slow, we're going to have no problem coming down. So we'll give it a little bit of throttle. And when we come out, we'll fly under the power lines just for the fun of it. I think I even heard them buzzing when I flew underneath them before, which is kind of a nice little touch. Well, that's a big power line corridor. Look at that. You can't miss that. Right in front of us there. Alright, where are the power lines? Alright, we're cool now. I think we're clear. Well, that's interesting. What do you think that is? Just a little open spot of some kind. Definitely not a helipad. Alright. Well, this is a little bit trickier than I thought, because you kind of got to take a funny angle with this. But again, it's going to be that bank that's the issue. And I don't really remember if it's that dirt path that's the runway, or if it's just this green open area right here in front. I'm going to assume it's the big green open area, because that looks pretty close to that tight little tree passage over there. Look at the bank on this thing. Oh, that must be the country store. That must be where it is down there. And that might be the helipad right down there in front of us. Yeah, there's all the cows at the end. Okay. So let's cut the throttle. Whoa, we're getting some wind here. Oh boy. Yeah, we're getting some drafts. Alright. Oh man, come on. Alright, I'm going to give him a couple extra points for landing challenge, because that's pretty tough. With the wind in there, and I don't even have hardly any wind turned on. That was pretty cool. That was fun. Alright, we got a little distance to the cows. Let's give ourselves some space. So this one is 872 feet long. Look at that cow up there on the hill. And we get ourselves turned around here. And you can imagine how hard this is going to be to take off with that bank. Alright, so flaps up. Parking brake on. Fuel off. Let's see what we got going on here. Do not even think about tipping any of these cows, Chet. We're looking for mushrooms again like we did last time. I'm not dealing with that. Oh, these guys are noisy too. They sound like cows. And I bet you can hit those things too. I bet it would wreck your plane if you hit them. Alright, and we got a tractor up here. That's cool. What's that sign say? Keep out private property. Oh, there's somebody working on the fence with a cow watching him, helping out. Boy, they got a lot of cows out here. Look at that. Yeah, you definitely wouldn't want to try and land up there. There's no way you could do it. So just bear in mind, if you're coming out here, that it's not that dark path right there. It's the runway. It's not really a marked runway at all. Look at that bank. Wow. I mean, you really can't tell from even inside the plane. That's pretty steep. That's really steep. Where's that cow on the hill? Oh, he's got a little wallow in area there. All right, let's see if there's that. What's up with that country store down here, which is all the way at the other end of the runway. I mean, I think I'm actually flying level right now with the drone. It's just so banked it doesn't feel like it. I'm going to speed the drone up just a little bit, because this is going to take a while. We'll slow it back down if we need to and get to the next spot. All right, so looking for the helipad, which I'm not really seeing it. Well, that must be it right there. That's the only thing that looks like a helipad, and they said it was grass. What's this guy doing? Are you having a rave or something? What's up, bro? Warming your feet on the fire? He looks like he might have gotten into one of those bags that was at that other place. So we'll just leave him alone. Cooking some sausage there. What's up, guys? That dog's hungry. Is this the country store? And can we get into it? Yeah, now the drone's going too fast. And some bags of feed. Okay, so that's what's in there. Anything else out here? A couple planes. Oh, that's a cow. I don't see our guy from Michigan again. That's not him. That's the Parallel 42 guy again. All right. Maybe he's following the guy from Michigan. Now they got a competition going. All right. Just a quick look around. Oh, there. That must be the country store. Although that looks kind of defaultish. Can we get inside? Nope. Well, shoot. The garage is half the house. All right. Well, I think that's all we got out here. I don't know. If that was $6.99, yeah, for sure worth it. Because that was a fun landing challenge. $9.99, maybe. That was really fun. Really fun. And the scenery around here looked pretty cool. But again, I need to stop thinking like me, who doesn't like buying airports. If you like buying bush strips, that's definitely within the range of reasonable value. All right, back in we go. This is going to be tough. Really, really tough. I'm not looking forward to this. If we can get up from this one, I'm pretty confident we can get down at the next one. It's just going to be getting up here. Break off. All right, man. Say a little prayer for me, brother. So we do have a little bit of width on this thing, which at least is good, because you know we're going to be yanking down to the left. So I'm going to start with the right rudder again. And just see what happens here. All right, I'm just going to floor it. Pull up. All right, that wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad. Get those flaps up. They're already up. All right, so we'll fly under these power lines because I want you guys to hear it buzzing. I think that's what it was doing last time I did this. Let's see how close we can get. I'm not going to fly too close because if I wreck now with one spot to go, that would be terrible. Oh, we're a little high. Whoa, dive, 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 dive. Can you hear him buzzing? Oh, I didn't hear him buzzing that time. I think I had the throttle cut last time because I was trying to dip underneath them. But I think they do buzz when you come around there. Alright, so we'll do a wide loop around this place. This is the Sunset Strip. This one's also $11.99, so on the higher end of the pricing. The runway is under 500 feet on this one, 492. Multiple helipads. It says, I think there's one near the airport, and there's one that looked pretty far off on the InSim map on this side of it as we're coming around. And this is the one that's supposed to have the most amount of trails for the Spruce Goose or Goose Juice or whatever that thing's called. The off-road vehicle. And you can already see some smoke off in the distance there. See it on that mountain? And you won't have any trouble spotting Finley Lake because it's the only lake that's out here. So once you see that, it's just going to be on the northwestern side of that lake, the strip is. Boy, this is just gorgeous out here. Looks amazing. So good. Love bush plane flying just for areas like this. Alright, so how many... Oh, God, I thought we were going to get a hard freeze. How many of you guys have got the 777 already? I haven't, Jones, for flying an airliner in a while, but man, my mouth's salivating a little bit to try that out. We couldn't do anything with it on this channel, but I really do want to check it out. I have all the other PMDG planes. Alright, so let's just see what all we can spot up here, because I feel like there was quite a bit out here before. And there must be a lot of animation because we got a hard freeze and we're getting some stuttering. I think that helipad may have been this far out. It was way out here. I mean, this might be it right around here. You can see they modded up some rocks down there. You can see some logs on the ground. It was way out here. They said there should be a guy dancing around down here and a map somewhere. And maybe some bears running around. So we'll see what all we can see. Alright, there's the strip on the other side of this. So let's swing out a little bit. There's Finley Lake. Boy, this is beautiful. Look at this. Just fantastic. Yeah, I like this a lot. For $11.99, I can already tell you, just being on top of this mountain, and because it's so big, depending on what they have on the ground, this one may qualify for me even at the higher price tier. What is that? They got some structures down there. Is that a windmill? Looks like a windmill. We'll go check that out. I mean, this is a big area. Alright, let's slow way down, get the flaps out. Oh, I just banged my microphone. And it looks like there's some big cliffs on the other side, too. You can see they've modded some of those rocks out there. Alright, so this is another shorty strip. And we got trees on both ends of it. Well, they got a lot of stuff right down there, whatever that is. So I'm going to try to stay right around 50 knots until we get right down there. And then try to stay less than 50 knots. That is very short. Very short. Alright. But we can do it. I am confident. There's that big power line cord over there. See it in the distance on the other side of our pillar? Alright. We're going to get a bunch of stuttering. I hope that's not going to be an impediment to navigating down here. Watching that airspeed. Beautiful little lake down there. I don't think I've blinked in about 20 minutes. And there's a guy riding something around down there. See that? Alright, this isn't too bad. At least it's wide open. Yeah, that's why there's so much stuttering, because of that guy spinning around down there. And why not finish it off with a nice landing? Alright, so we don't need to turn around here, because this is our ultimate destination, so we'll just go ahead and stop, shut her down. Alright, chat, we made it, brother. Thanks. You did a great job of doing absolutely nothing, as usual. Alright. Oh, you can hear that guy driving that ATV around. See you later, Kitfox. You did a great job. What an awesome plane. Okay. This is a big area, so I am going to keep the drone speed up on that. Okay, so we got standard issue camp there. This dude doing donuts over here. Alright, well that is what it is. And what's that, another cow? Must have stolen one of the cows from the other place. Oh yeah. This guy's having a rave. He's definitely been hanging out at the Coyote Estate. Got into their bags. Yeah. Yeah. All he needs is a glow stick and some Vicks Vapo Rub and he will be good to go. That's what I'm talking about right there, brother. You know who's going to be hanging out with him later. That dude from Michigan. Probably a dance master. Alright, so another campground over here. Looks pretty good. What do we got at this lake? It looks like a lake. Got some cars around here. Very nice. Hummer. No Range Rovers. Whoa, that guy's ripped. Look at that. Oh, you know he's posing. Come on, dude. Get over yourself. These guys aren't even looking. Oh, this guy's trying to ruin his game. That guy needs to go hang out over there with a raver. Yeah, he's going to head back over there tonight. Alright, let's go see what that gigantic thing over here was. Where is it? Oh, there's the windmill. Alright. And it's even spinning. Look at this view. Incredible. Love it. Oh, I got the old beater truck out here with a cab topper on it. Toyota representing. Nice. A beat up old fifth wheel. Some chickens. I wonder why the horses weren't at that first place at the Hogsback Ranch. Yeah, that's the kind of Ford I want to see. That's awesome. Just waiting for a restoration. Some chickens running around. I didn't see a map anywhere. Maybe it's at one of those campsites. Alright, so where's the lake? Let me orientate myself here. Orient myself. What's all that stuff? Gas for the planes, probably. He's got a snorkel on his car so he can drive through Finley Lake if he needs to. Alright, so that's there. Look at all these trails, though. So if you have the Juice Goose, head on out here. See, these are the ones that have been terraformed. They're nice and wide. You can cruise all around up here. Anything else out here? Doesn't look like it. I think they said there was somebody cooking something out here, maybe? Oh. Oh, we got something down there. What is that? I thought I saw something down there when we were flying by. Is it just a pile of logs? Yep, it is. Alright, so it seems like... So if you keep going down that way, which we're not, I think that's where that other helipad was, way out there. So you can check all that stuff out. And I think there was another helipad pretty close to the place that we came into as well. This is pretty neat. For $11.99, again, comparing it to the other things you get for $11.99 in the sim, as far as places to land, pretty cool. Parallel 42, you guys did a phenomenal job. So overall, my ratings, probably best value, Sharktooth Ridge for sure. That was the one down in the canyon. That was awesome. $6.99 for that one. Best looking, probably also from the air, I would say probably Sharktooth also, but that Hogsback Ranch also looked pretty cool just from the approach view. That was really neat. And what else? Most original, Coyote Estate, definitely. That was hilarious. That was also the most fun to explore. And then for hardest landing, man, it might be a tie between High Voltage and Sharktooth. High Voltage was tough with that wind. I'd forgotten about that. All right, so there's our guy. We'll just wrap it up with a little send-off music for y'all. So that's it, guys. I think probably Detroit's going to come up next. Can't wait to get back and see you guys in the skies. Absolute blast as usual. I'll check you out later.